Penasihat khusus Presiden Palestina Riyad Maliki datang ke Indonesia secara khusus untuk menyerahkan penghargaan Medal of Honor atau medali kehormatan bagi Presiden Jokowi dan Menteri Luar Negeri Retno Marsudi. Medali itu merupakan simbol apresiasi untuk pemerintah Indonesia yang konsisten membela perjuangan kemerdekaan bangsa Palestina sesuai amanat konstitusi. Berikut wawancara selengkapnya.
Ya, saat ini saya sudah bersama dengan penasihat Presiden Palestina untuk bidang hubungan internasional, Dr. Riyad Maliki. Good evening, Your Excellency, Dr. Riyad Maliki.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's an honor to have you here with us today as we discuss crucial issues concerning Palestine and the ongoing efforts towards its liberation. Well, I'd like to start by addressing the recent Medal of Honor awarded to the President of Indonesia, His Excellency Jokowi and the Foreign Minister of Indonesia, Her Excellency Retno Marsudi. Could you share with us the significance of this recognition and how much the support from the people of Indonesia means to the Palestinian struggle for independence?
Well, you know, when the President of the State of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, decided, you know, to offer President Joko Widodo this Medal of Honor. It is because we believe that the President has acted on behalf of the Indonesian people in a way providing full support to the Palestinian people's struggle for justice. President Widodo has been in the forefront, advocating for the national rights of the Palestinian people to self-determination, to freedom and to independence. It is very clear that you know, we recognize such position, we appreciate it, and we thought that it also comes with the celebration of the anniversary of independence.
Yes.
And so it's very important that, you know, during this period and at the last days of the current administration, it's very important that, you know, the President and the Foreign Minister will be awarded such honor from the State of Palestine as an example of bravery, of leadership, of strength, of solidarity and of support.
And the most important thing is, Palestine was one of the first countries to recognize Indonesia Independence Day back in the 1945. Do you have any message you'd like to share about this?
No, it's very important that, you know, it goes back, our relationship, so many years. So no one should be surprised that, you know, today the current state of affairs between Indonesia and Palestine is at its best, is because of this accumulated history of friendship, you know, between Indonesia and Palestine. We have been sincerely committed to each other, and we stood by each other, and this is very important. Such a relationship is an example of the type of relationship that should exist between two friendly countries. And we, you know, we'd like very much to protect such a relationship, to preserve it, and even to work very hard in order to make it, you know, long-lasting.
Mediation efforts for a ceasefire continue but often face obstacles due to Israel's consistent effort to alter the terms. How do you view the situation and what challenges does it present?
Look, you know, frankly speaking, we don't believe that, you know, the Israeli Prime Minister, Netanyahu, is interested in any ceasefire.
Why? Why do you see that?
Because, you know, he sees a ceasefire as a temporary stop of the war that he, declared against Gaza, and he fears that if that ceasefire will last, then this might bring an end to the war. For Netanyahu, he's looking for what he said to be the absolute victory. I think, the absolute victory is something, imaginary. There is no absolute victory. There is partial victory, but not absolute victory. Talking about absolute victory, it means that, the war will continue forever. That's what it means. And Netanyahu knows that the moment that the war ends, there are two things awaiting him. One, an investigation about what happened on October the 7th and his responsibility in what happened in October the 7th. Secondly, there are 4 corruption cases against Netanyahu are waiting, him in the courts. And he knows that, if these cases will go on, he might spend the rest of his life in prison. So the only way to escape the prison and the only way to escape this investigation about what happened on October the 7th is to continue the war, not to stop the war.
So
and for that reason, yes, he sends people to negotiate about the ceasefire, but he does not give them any kind of leeway in order for them to be able to negotiate. He always puts conditions, new conditions, in order to undermine any negotiations. Right now, most of the Israeli public, right now, the Israeli politicians, they know that if there is one person in Israel who is really undermining all these ceasefire negotiations, his name is Netanyahu. And so it's very clear that either we are wasting our time or Netanyahu is sacrificing not only the Israeli hostages, but also the Palestinian civilians, women and children who are being killed.
Is there any possibility to Netanyahu to giving up?
No, look, the way how Netanyahu behaves, the way how Netanyahu has acted since October 7th until today is a reflection that Netanyahu is not giving up. Netanyahu wants to go to the end.
Who can stop him?
Look, before stopping him, Netanyahu believes that, this absolute victory requires not only ending the power of Hamas, but also killing as many Palestinians as possible, destroying the infrastructure, homes, houses of Palestinians in Gaza, making Gaza unlivable. But also, in order for him to be on the safe side, that the war will continue forever, he wants to expand the war. He wants to expand the war to Lebanon. He wants to expand the war to Syria, to Iraq, to Yemen, and right now he wants to expand the war to Iran. Why you believe that he assassinated Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran if he doesn't want to bring Iran into the conflict? The moment that Iran enters into the conflict, then the United States of America will enter into the conflict. So here we are talking about a regional war, not only a war limited in Gaza against the people in Gaza, but a war that has expanded to so many fronts.
If Netanyahu still in this world, the war is not going to end.
It's true. The only way to end the war, look, Netanyahu needs military weapon. He needs airplanes, he needs bombs in order to continue the war. If he doesn't get the bombs from the United States of America, if he doesn't get the F-35 airplanes and F-15 airplanes from the United States of America, he cannot continue the war. So here we see that there is a possibility to impose kind of pressure on Netanyahu to end the war as immediately as possible by a decision that should be taken by the US administration to tell Netanyahu, if you do not accept a ceasefire now, then we will reconsider sending you bombs and airplanes. This is very important. Without that, Netanyahu cannot continue his war forever.
Yeah, the basic question is, who is Netanyahu? Why he's so powerful? Why there's no power in this world can stop him? Why?
Look, your question takes us back so many years about, the creation of the State of Israel and what's happening there. Israel is a country being treated differently from any other country in the world.
Yeah.
Israel feels impune from any pressure, any condemnation, any action. Israel feels that no one could really impose any sanctions on Israel. Why? Because the United States of America always comes to its rescue. United States of America always uses veto power in the Security Council to prevent any resolution condemning Israel or imposing sanctions. And there are countries within Europe who always feel that, Israel was created by the West. Israel before 1948 did not exist.
Yeah.
Israel was imposed in the Middle East, in Palestine. And they brought these European Jews to live in Palestine and to establish a Palestinian state, an Israeli state, in Palestinian land. So Israel creation serves, a Western objective to be the policeman, in the region. And as long as Israel serves and acts as such, then, the countries who have created Israel always will come to the rescue of Israel whenever Israel is threatened in its existential, way. And that's why the United States of America has moved its troops, its airplane carrier, its nuclear submarine, and said, we are ready to protect Israel if Israel is being really attacked. Western European countries have said exactly the same. Every time that we go to the Security Council to impose sanctions on Israel or to condemn Israel, always the United States of America stands up and uses veto. When in the European Union, every time that we are looking for a decision to be taken, there are 1, 2, 3 countries within the European Union who will prevent a unanimous decision from being taken by the European Union. So Israel knows that. Israel knows that, every time there will be United States of America and 3, 4 European countries that they will rally to protect Israel, to defend Israel, and to fight, for Israel. For Israel, that's enough. That's why Netanyahu and the Israeli government all the time feel that they are impune. Every time that they kill Palestinians, no one could say anything. Because, if the Palestinians will go to the Security Council, US will use veto. If they will go to the General Assembly, who cares?
But Dr. Riyad, on the other hand, Hamas has expressed support for the ceasefire and even agreed to the proposal put forward by President Biden, though it doesn't necessarily guarantee a permanent cessation of Israel attacks. What steps are being taken to address Israel's stance?
Look, the Biden proposal, which was, supported by a resolution in the Security Council. So, for the first time since the war erupted more than 10 months ago, the Security Council was able to pass a resolution calling for a ceasefire based on the Biden initiative. And what is the Biden initiative? It's really an Israeli proposal. It's a Netanyahu proposal. Netanyahu himself wrote that proposal, gave it to Biden, and Biden presented it as his own. But he acknowledged this is really Netanyahu's ideas. And Netanyahu says, these are my ideas, regardless. Such a proposal, which really was presented by Biden, was taken to the Security Council of the United Nations. In the Security Council, there was a vote on the 27th of May, and a resolution was passed. Supposedly, when such a resolution is passed, based on the Biden plan, which is originated from Netanyahu, that Netanyahu will accept that resolution of the Security Council. Until today, Netanyahu is not respecting that resolution. That resolution calls for what? For ceasefire. And Netanyahu did not stop his war against the Palestinians. Every day, more than 150 Palestinians are being killed, majority women and children. More than 300 Palestinians are being really injured, and houses are being really destroyed, demolished. So it's very clear that even the same idea that Netanyahu has presented to Biden, and Biden adopted it as his own and presented it through his mission in the United Nations, through a resolution by the Security Council, all of that is not really enough for Netanyahu to stop his atrocities and his crimes against the Palestinians. So he's not really stopping.
Global support for Palestine, including from Indonesia, continues to grow, yet it hasn't been sufficient to end Israel's aggression. Meanwhile, Gulf Arab nations are being called upon to take more responsibility in aiding Palestine's quest for independence. What's your perspective on the role of Arab leaders in this matter?
Look, the problem that the situation today in Gaza and the negotiations for a ceasefire is being linked to a way to the reaction of potential reaction of Iran for the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, and the possible reaction of Hezbollah from Lebanon for the assassination of Fuad Shukr. There is no doubt that he has been assassinated by the Israelis, of course, absolutely. But at the same time, it's being also linked in terms of time to the presidential elections in November in the United States of America. And it's, in a way, it's being influenced in that manner. And that's why you cannot separate the presidential elections in November. You cannot separate the possible reaction of Iran and Hezbollah to the Israeli assassinations of their leaders. And, that's why, nobody knows how the situation will unfold. So many, variables are involved in the process. The whole situation is so dynamic. Any event could really undermine everything else.
It's very interesting. The United States is often seen as playing a significant role in Israel's genocidal actions against the Palestinian people, providing military aid. On the other hand, the United States is also acting as a mediator to work towards ceasefire negotiations. Should the world also put more pressure on the U.S. in addition to Israel to end the aggression towards Palestine? And what kinds of global pressure to those two countries are needed?
Look, your question is describing, this kind of double position that the U.S. is undertaking. At one point, the U.S. is brokering negotiations for a ceasefire, but at the same time, the U.S. is providing weapons to Israel to kill more Palestinians. So it's very kind of ironic to see that the U.S. is playing these two roles, which really in order to answer that, it seems that the US has a total double standard position, totally separated two positions from each other. One position is that United States wants to show full commitment to Israeli security, and that's why the United States provides weapon to Israel as much as Israel needs, regardless how Israel uses such weapon and killing how many and whom, doesn't matter. This is really totally separated, as if you close your eyes and you say, I will give you a weapon. I don't care what you will do with that. On the other hand, United States wants to show the human face, by talking about salvaging lives through a process of negotiations to arrive at a ceasefire. How this really works out. At one point, you look at this side and you talk about human side and ceasefire. When you look at this side, you give more arms and you say, go shoot and kill. This is really, is this the real face of the United States of America? If that's really the real face of the United States of America, then it's really a very scary face.
Dr. Riyad, there has been ongoing international debates on Palestine's status and recognition within global organizations like the United Nations. With more countries voicing support for Palestine's full membership, how do you see this influencing Palestine's position on the world stage, and what steps are being taken to strengthen this diplomatic recognition?
Look, if you want really to measure that international support through the number of countries that they vote in favor of Palestine in the General Assembly, you will see that we enjoy the support of the majority of member states. If you want to measure the success of our diplomacy by the number of countries that they have recognized the state of Palestine, until today, it's 149 countries. So it's huge. If you want really to measure it by the way how many resolutions were taken in the General Assembly or in the Security Council condemning Israel, it's huge. More than 800 resolutions in the General Assembly and more than 83 resolutions in the Security Council. So it's huge. The question is this enough to alter the behavior and the attitude of Israel? Absolutely not. Because, Israel still today feels impune, as I said at the beginning. And, as long as it's being really protected by this superpower in the Security Council, then Israel feels that, there is no price to pay for the crimes that it commits against the Palestinian people. That's the way. But at the same time, yes, Palestine today is at its peak in terms of support internationally, in terms of recognition, in terms of the number of votes in the General Assembly, even in the Security Council, 14 against 1. And so, yes, Palestine enjoys that. The last thing is really the advisory opinion that was taken by the ICJ, in The Hague. A clear support by the advisory opinion.
Okay, Dr. Riyad, talk about the ICJ. The International Court of Justice declares Israel settlements are illegal under the international law. But this hasn't stopped Israel from continuing forced evictions and expanding settlements. Prime Minister Netanyahu even suggested building new settlements in Gaza, which seems to be more about taking land than just targeting Hamas. How is the Palestinian authorities responding to this?
Look, the decision that was taken by the ICJ in terms of the advisory opinion is historic, is unprecedented, is very important. And we should not really minimize such achievement to a level that, when Netanyahu has reacted in that way, or the U.S. Congress, to impose sanctions on the ICJ for this advisory opinion, or the ICC, is a reflection that the advisory opinion is so important. Now, what's important is not the decision by itself, is how we translate that decision into an action plan, and how this action plan will be implemented by the right mechanisms. The advisory opinion said that the General Assembly of the United Nations and the Security Council should identify modalities in order to end the occupation, the Israeli occupation of the land of the State of Palestine, as soon as possible. So right now, it becomes the full responsibility of the General Assembly and the Security Council to identify such modalities, to negotiate with Israel when and how Israel will end its occupation of the Palestinian land.
To end this interview, do you want to say something strong message to people in Indonesia or to the world, sir? Please.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, we wanted to be with the people of Indonesia during this celebration of independence. This is really very important, so congratulations. And we are here, to say thank you to people of Indonesia for your, an endless kind of support. I think, we will prevail, and we should do that, very soon.
Thank you, Your Excellency Dr. Riyad Maliki, for your valuable insights. We appreciate your time and wish you continued strength in your efforts for the Palestinian cause and liberation. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Jelajahi cara baru mendapatkan informasi. Download Metro TV Extend sekarang.